Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. Brian Foster, aged 34, experienced yet another rough day. Initially criticized for his perceived lack of enthusiasm towards new sales quotas, he then found himself dealing with his superior's blunder at work, a flawed product set for a forthcoming launch. Eager for tranquility, he craved solace at home. The journey back was marred by typical traffic chaos, exacerbated by an unforeseen accident. Forced onto an unfamiliar route, Brian endured 20 minutes of frustration before rejoining the highway. Upon his return, his wife Karen expressed a need for a post-dinner conversation regarding their son. "All right, what's the matter now?" inquired Brian. His 14-year-old son, Alex, typically well-behaved, seldom caused any trouble. The only notable issue arose when he stood up for a girl against bullies. Reflecting on the incident, Brian frowned, yet simultaneously felt pride in his son's actions. It was intriguing how a single event could evoke such contrasting emotions. "Let's have dinner first, then we'll chat," Karen suggested, her smile conveying reassurance. The meal passed in relative silence, with both Karen and Alex subdued, while Brian remained simmering with frustration from the day's events. Nonetheless, Karen's culinary skills shone through, proving her prowess in the kitchen. Once dinner concluded, Alex cleared the table and loaded the dishwasher before rejoining the family in the living room. "All right, let's have a conversation," Brian stated, setting down his coffee cup. Karen rose from her seat, heading towards a seldom utilized liquor cabinet. Retrieving a bottle, she poured Brian a strong drink, remarking, "You might find this helpful." Karen explained, "I returned home earlier and discovered Alex in my room. He had adorned himself with a pair of my panties, a garter belt over them, and fancy patterned stockings. I was furious, unable to contain my anger. I yelled at him, 'Get out of those, you little pervert,' before retreating here to gather myself. I never imagined I would encounter such behavior from my own son." That was the breaking point. The weight of the day's events finally overwhelmed him, and he unleashed his frustration on poor Alex. Brian turned to alcohol, accompanied by a string of harsh words. His voice escalated to near screaming until he reached a point where words failed him, almost resorting to something else to convey his message. Surprisingly, he found solace in the drowsiness induced by liquor. It was exactly what he needed. Hoping for a fresh perspective, he looked forward to a good night's sleep, anticipating that Saturday might bring a different outlook. "Karen, today has been awful, and I fear I'm on the verge of a decision I'll regret forever. I'm exhausted and just want to sleep now. Perhaps in the morning, the three of us can address this calmly as a family, not as enraged parents confronting a vulnerable boy. Let's remember, even criminals have legal representation." "You're correct. I acted impulsively. I'll retire to bed as well." With that, Brian left the room, made his way upstairs, took a shower, dried off, and crawled into bed. A few minutes later, Karen joined him. Reflecting, she remarked, "Alex isn't a bad kid. Perhaps he was just curious. Maybe it was the shock of seeing him like that. We can delve into this further tomorrow. Good night, dear." Brian was on the brink of sleep when it began. He treaded along a fog-draped path stretching endlessly ahead. The sensation of marching towards an unknown destination consumed him. Eventually, he reached a crossroads, perpendicular to the path he traversed. Positioned to the left, seated on a rock, was a figure garbed in black robes, etching onto a wooden staff. Amidst several trees filled with chirping birds, flowers flourished on one side of the road while barrenness prevailed on the other. The man glanced up and greeted, "Greetings, Brian. I've been anticipating your arrival. How are you aware of my name?" The man chuckled, "This is your dream realm, isn't it?" "Well, yes, but, Brian, you're grappling with decisions concerning your son. His journey in life is distinct from yours. Your actions tomorrow will shape his future choices. Many paths lay before him, yet you face two divergent roads, each leading to a different destiny. Your conduct will sway both. Reflect deeply, proceed cautiously. With those words, the figure dissolved into the mist. Brian opted for the rightward path, leading through a blossoming meadow resonant with bird melodies before veering into a dense, shadowy woodland. His steps felt sluggish, as if tethered to the earth, impeding his progress. Eventually, he reached a small, stone-strewn clearing, dominated by a house crowned with a thatched roof. Adjacent to the dwelling lay a neglected garden, overrun with weeds. Yielding to a compelling impulse, Brian approached the door and rapped upon it. After a moment, the door creaked open, revealing a solitary elderly man within. "Please, do come in. I rarely receive visitors these days." Upon stepping into the cottage, Brian observed its dim interior. "Could we shed a bit more light in here? It's quite dark. I'm afraid I only have a few candles, and I can't afford much more. Alternatively, we could step outside," the old man offered. As they exited the cottage, Brian studied the man's features, a nagging sense of familiarity tugging at his memory. "Have we met before? I feel like I know you. I'm Alex. We may not be acquainted as well as you think. Follow me. I have something to show you," Alex said, leading Brian towards the garden. Bending down, Brian realized the supposed garden was actually a grave. He knelt to inspect the gravestone, which bore the inscription, "Here lies Brian Foster 1950-2002 rest in peace." "What in the world?" Brian trailed off, stunned. Alex regarded him with a sympathetic smile. "I don't fault you for your actions, you simply lacked understanding." Brian stared at the fading image, his mind echoing, "lacked understanding." A mist began to envelop him, severing his tenuous link to the unfolding scene. It thickened, obscuring everything, until finally, it dissipated. "So, did you find the answers you were seeking? Or did they only provoke further questions?" Startled by the unexpected voice, Brian spun around to find himself back at the crossroads, facing the carver. "It's simple to shape wood, cut, mold, and carve. It's pliable. Humans, on the other hand, are more complex, but malleable over time." He observed as the carver ignited a torch and placed his creation into the flame. "I have the power to create or, by burning, to obliterate. The destiny of my creation rests in my hands." With a gesture, he indicated another path before vanishing into thin air. "God, if only I could do that when Karen insists on shopping," Brian mused as he approached the crossroads once more. This time, he veered left. The path grew rockier, steeper, and more challenging to navigate. At times, it seemed to disappear entirely. After a while, the terrain leveled out, leading him into a picturesque meadow with a gentle stream meandering through. The landscape burst with an array of vibrant flowers in every hue imaginable. The grassy path ahead was now effortless to traverse. Soon, he caught sight of a sizable two-story house surrounded by flourishing gardens. A group of children, some tending to the gardens, others playing, dotted the scene. "Hello," greeted one of the children politely. "Can I assist you?" "Could I speak with the head of the household, young lady?" he inquired. With a giggle, she responded, "Are you looking for Alexa? Follow me. I'll take you to her." With that, she led him towards the house and into a bright, cheerful space. Inside, several girls were engaged in different tasks. Bookcases lined the walls, filled with books, and chairs were occupied by girls engrossed in reading. "What a delightful place," he remarked to himself. She strode into the room with authority. "Looks like we've got a guest. Welcome. Please have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Lily, fetch some juice for our visitor. Anna, grab a pillow for our guest. Are your feet tired from the journey? Nancy, help him with his shoes and give his feet a massage." Taking note of the woman issuing commands, he observed her impressive stature, about 5'10", with sleek black hair and piercing green eyes. Her well-defined physique hinted at a fitness model's prowess. "Hello, I'm Alexa, and I suppose I'm somewhat in charge of this chaotic place, Brian." Once more, he was taken aback. She knew his name, a realization that perhaps he should have anticipated. "I suppose I should have expected that," he responded, as he received attentive care from several teenage girls. "Are all these young ladies your children?" She chuckled and elaborated, "In a sense, yes. I'm married to a wonderful and caring woman. These are the discarded ones, the forgotten. Nancy, who's massaging your feet, is actually a boy. Anna was abandoned after being assaulted. Jessica fled from an abusive household. Jan, Jenny, and Pat were coerced into prostitution against their will. We take in as many as we can. And we've managed to rescue quite a few." "Curious," Brian inquired, "how many individuals do you have here?" "About 30 or so at the moment, sometimes more," Alexa replied. Feeling at ease, Brian then asked, "How do you manage to support all of this?" "We do what we can. Follow me, I have something to show you," Alexa responded, gesturing for him to put his shoes on and accompany her outside. They strolled along a path adorned with blossoming flowers. "Over there," she gestured to the left with her arm, "we cultivate vegetables, berries, and grapes." As they strolled, she pointed out various buildings and their purposes. They eventually reached a gravel path leading to a small marble structure, surrounded by a plethora of flowers. "This place holds more significance to me than anything else in the world. My life would not be what it is without him. Look." Brian gazed at the building. It appeared empty to him. He approached the door and noticed a marble slab embedded into the wall beside it. Engraved upon it were the words, "Most dear and sacred to the memory of Alexa Foster George Foster, beloved father 1950, rest in eternal love." A tremor ran through Brian's body, followed by a cheerful voice exclaiming, "Wake up, sleepyhead." Karen sat on the edge of the bed, blow-drying her hair. "Come on. It's a gorgeous day, and I'm feeling fantastic. I had the most peculiar dream. It felt incredibly vivid, as they tend to do. But it's cleared my mind on many things. I suppose today we can sit down with Alex and truly listen to him," Brian commented. "I had a dream too. It was about this rugged, steep road and this magnificent house." Brian interjected, "And a carver?" "No, mine was a weaver. She crafted this exquisite tapestry, then inexplicably set it ablaze. At first, I thought, what a waste, until I understood," Karen replied. "It seems like we're in for an intriguing morning. I'm wondering if we can claim an extra deduction on our taxes. And I'm wondering whether it'll be a tux or a gown for the prom." "Why?" "Because you only rent tuxedos,